years and still talking. This is GAVNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hello, everybody. How are you? It's Alex Bennett, and this is the Ramble. Back again for another night of hilarity. We'll get to our citizens panel in just a little bit. Why is it so warm in here? Let me up my fan here, because I have this remote control that will allow me to do it. Let me see here. Come on. Go up there. Okay. Let's get some cold in here. Okay. Is it on cool? Yeah, it's on cool. See? I love the remote control is the greatest invention of all time. Okay? I love the remote control. When I was a kid, I used to have to get up from the couch to go and change the channel on the TV set. Now I don't have to. That was exercise. And now with the air conditioner, it's all the way over there. I don't have to walk over. I can just zap it, and it'll do what it's got to do. But I did blow a circuit breaker the other night, because what happens is this air conditioner has an energy saving thing on it, where it just checks the temperature in the room, and when the temperature changes, it changes its speed and what it's doing and so on. Well, I turned on the air conditioner in the guest room, and when it did that, when it kind of adjusted for the warmth of the room, it either sped up or slowed down or did something, and it caused a slight power surge, which blew the circuit breaker in the kitchen. But thank God it isn't the circuit breaker in the basement, because the circuit breaker in the basement is hell to get to. So, anyway, but this works okay. But then we have some guests who are coming, and they're going to want to use the air conditioner, and I don't know what we're going to do. It's a pain in the ass, but I don't have this thing on energy save, so we're fine. All right. Anyway, what do I want to talk to you about? I don't have that much to actually relay to you. Anyway, let me see here. Last night I started watching a thing on PBS. I started with the third episode, and then I went to the first two episodes. Now, you can do that with this thing, but and it was called Chasing the Moon. And it is about the space program that eventually landed a man on the moon. And it's 3 episodes. It's on PBS. If you have PBS, the PBS app, and you can watch it on your Roku or on your Apple TV. It's 3 fascinating 2-hour episodes. I mean, and just absolutely amazing. And it dealt with the whole moon program, starting with Sputnik, which was the Russians' satellite, which was the first satellite in orbit. That was the first piece of junk up there, okay? And then the Russians kept doing more stuff. Finally they put a dog up. And you know, it's funny. There are things in my life that I forget. You know, I can't remember certain people or birthdays, or I have to go to the calendar to remember when I married my current wife, you know. And I can't remember when I married all the others. Although I do remember Ronnie, I married on December the 18th. And I think we did that because it was my mother's birthday. And she and my father came up to see us get married, so we figured we'd do it on the 18th. But anyway, you don't remember things. But for some reason, there are certain things about the space race and about the space programs that I do remember. And I think it was because, let me go back, at a very young age, I wanted to be an astronaut, but there was no such thing as an astronaut. In fact, I don't think that I ever said I wanted to be an astronaut because that term wasn't invented until the space program. Prior to that, I said, I want to grow up and go to the moon. And all the kids gave me a bad time for that. They referred to me as Moon Rocks Bennett. Okay? Yeah. And I always, and I remember, I guess I got interested in space. I think what got me interested in space, two people, basically. One was Robert Heinlein, who wrote Stranger in a Strange Land and a lot of other science fiction books. What was the one where I'm trying to remember, the parasites attach themselves to human beings and around the neck, and the whole planet is taken over by this species who attach themselves to human beings and become parasites. I'm trying to remember what the name of it was now, but I can't remember it, so forget it, you know. But what he also wrote were kids' science fiction books, and they were really great. And I read them all. Every time a new Heinlein book came out, I read it. And when I started reading him, I went back and read everything he ever did. So I read things like Red Planet Mars, Space Troopers, I think, was the name of the book. There were some of the others. I'm trying to remember the names of some of the others. But I loved his Space Cadet was another one he wrote. And these were all kids' books. These were all written for me, okay? And I devoured them. And I devoured also these books they were books about space, and the text was written by Willie Ley, who was a rocket scientist, if I remember correctly. Not one of the preeminent ones, but a rocket scientist who could explain things very nicely in these texts. But the main thing in these books were drawings, illustrations by a great illustrator. And if you get a chance, go online. I'm sure if you type in the name Chesley Bonestel, that's Bonestel, Chesley is the first name, Chesley, okay, Chesley Bonestel. Or it might have been pronounced Bonestel. I used to think it was Bonestel, but I always have gone Bonestel because when I say it to people, if they remember it that way, they'll kind of know how to spell it, okay? And he made these rather elaborate paintings of what it would be like if you were on some of these other planets. And he used scientific information of the time to draw what it would be like if you were on the surface of, say, Jupiter, or the surface of Mars, or the surface of Saturn, surface of Uranus, surface of Venus. In fact, I was so good at space, I could name all the planets in order. Mercury, Venus, the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, then Saturn, then I always get these wrong. I think they're in alphabetical order, Neptune and Uranus. And of course, Pluto was way out at the very end, but poor Pluto is no longer a planet, right? Always felt bad about that. But anyway, so these were the kind of things that I surrounded myself with growing up as a kid. And then there was always the recordings of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, and then there were the plethora of science fiction movies that came out. But the first one that I remember that dealt with space travel, there were two of them. One was really scientifically accurate, and the other one was just, blow it out your ass, let's go boo, okay? The one that blew it out your ass and went boo was a picture called Rocket Ship XM. And it was in black and white until you got to Mars, and then it was red, okay? They tinted the film. They went to Mars, and then there were monsters on Mars, and they had to run away from them, and they tried to get home, but they couldn't get home, and Rocket Ship XM crashed to Earth. without, of course, any survivors. And I remember the last part of that film because it always kind of resonated with me. Whenever I had a time where something didn't work out exactly and we were going to go to the next phase of trying to make it work, and there's a scientist and he's talking to another one and they go, well, that's it for rocket ship XM. He says, yes, but tomorrow we start on XM2. Okay? And I always said, that's great. That means persevere no matter what. Your rocket ship crashes, you build another one, you go out into space again. But anyway, that was Rocket Ship XM. Robert Lippert was the releasing company on that. I can't remember who directed it. But basically, as scientifically accurate films go, it wasn't very good. All right. The other film, however, that was terrific and gave you a real education about space and made you kind of feel, hey, this would be what it's like, was a film done by George Pal. Now, George Pal, prior to this, had done things called puppet tunes. These were those things where they had like animated puppets, you know, the stop motion puppets. He had been doing those for a while, and then all of a sudden he wanted to go into making movies. So he used some of that ability he had at animating objects to making these films that he later went on to do. He went on and did War of the Worlds. He did quite a few films. Conquest of Space was another one. Pretty good stuff. But anyway, this picture was called Destination Moon. And it was the first film, really, of its sort. And this was about, I guess, 52, maybe 53. It might have been earlier, but I think I'm right on the years there. I could look it up, but to hell with it. Yeah, Puppet Masters. That's the Heinlein book. Charlie Wallace had it. Starship Troopers. That was the other one. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Well, that's one of his adult ones. Tunnel in the Sky. I don't remember that one. But Farmer in the Sky, I remember. Farmer in the Sky. Yeah, it was about a guy who was a farmer on, I think it was Mars. But anyway, but those were the kids' books. Getting back to where we are, Destination Moon was a film that really just captured me. The idea that these guys were going to get in this rocket, it took off, and it was a single-stage rocket. It just went up. Typical what you thought rockets would look like in that day and age. You didn't realize that you'd have to do it in stages and so on and so forth. And it was just an amazing film. It captured my hopes and my dreams. And I said, I want to do that. I want to be able to get in a rocket and go to the fucking moon. And I know we're going to do it within the next, within my lifetime. And I think I said the next 20 years, and I was off by about 5 years. When I told the kids at school, oh, well, we're going to the moon. We'll be there in about 15 years. They all laughed at me. They all thought I was crazy. I was nuts. But 15 years later, a man put his foot on the moon. And we're celebrating that anniversary now, many, many years later. And we're celebrating the landing on the moon by Neil Armstrong. It was a seminal moment in our lives. You know, when it happened, everybody was glued to TV sets. And it happened on July 20th, 1969. And everybody was glued to television sets, watching this thing. Very blurry pictures coming in from the moon, but we went, that's the moon. That's the moon. And everybody's going, wow, you know, it's amazing. It is the moon. Yes. The farmer on Jupiter's moon, Ganymede, in Farmer in the Sky. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie remembers it better than I do. Anyway. And everybody was just, you know, stuck to their TV sets watching this moon landing. And of course, you know, taking a deep breath, and then also after they landed and everybody went, oh boy, they're safe, they landed, then you start thinking about how are they going to get out of there. And you find out just how close that all was. That they had, he, Armstrong, when he pulled into the moon, decided he didn't want to land in one particular place because he figured it was too rocky. And then he saw he had 15 seconds of fuel left of the fuel reserved for landing on the planet, on the moon. So he put her down and had 15 seconds worth of fuel left. There was more fuel to get back up, and off the moon. But they didn't know. They didn't know if those rockets would fire and get them off the moon. And they have a shot in the film in which it's the Daily News, and the Daily News, they mock up their pages ahead of time, and they put them in. In those days, they used to press them into a form or whatever. And the headline, which they had as an alternative headline, they had one that went, man leaves moon, The other said marooned in big black letters. Well, luckily, never had to use that. Nixon was told by, I'm trying to remember who, somebody said to him, it might have been one of the other astronauts who was with him at the time, said, do you have a speech ready in case they die? And Nixon said no. And he said, well, you better. And there were obituaries ready to roll with these guys, But they landed on the moon. They spent, I think it was maybe a day and a half there, while the other guy, what was his name? My mind's a blank on this. Was in the capsule circling the moon. And they then took off, and everybody holding their breath. What's going to happen? And then, by the way, they had a camera on a tripod that was on the moon that they were shooting their stuff with when they were there. And when they went back in to take off, they pointed it at the ship, and you can then see the actual lunar module taking off from the moon. Now, because the gravity of the moon is 1/6 of what it is here on Earth, the escape velocity didn't have to be as great. The amount of power needed to do it didn't have to be as great. And it fired, and they went, and they pulled into the orbiting module, and the rest is history. They came back to Earth, and life was great. But this documentary called Chasing the Moon just is, I watched all 3 episodes in one day. It was 6 hours. And I started with number 3 because that's all I could find initially. And then I saw the other 2 were available. So I watched the first 2. But if you watch just the 3rd one, it's all about going to the moon and them getting to the moon and all of that. And that in and of itself is a capsule of the whole thing, is pretty much all you need to watch. But if you really want a great treat, you watch the whole 3. And in it, you see certain things that there's a lot of footage that I don't know if it was previously available or just has never been correlated or collated in one place. And it's some really terrific stuff. And one of the things I didn't know, you remember Gus Grissom, and I can't remember, was it Roger Chaffee? I can't remember who the other 2 guys were that were in the capsule, and then it caught fire and they died. They perished in the fire in the Apollo capsule. It was on the ground. It wasn't in space or anything. And all 3 of them died. And Ed White was one of them, I believe. And they showed the wives all comforting the other wives. They were kind of like a sorority in a way, in that they watched out for each other and they were there for each other. And it was really quite terrific what they did. And the one thing that they mentioned that I didn't know this is that I think it was Ed White's wife, or it might have been Anders. No, it might have been Anders' wife. Yeah, it was Anders, White, and Grissom. Anders' wife was so distraught about the whole thing, she couldn't get past it. She committed suicide. Now, I never knew that, and they never made a big deal about it, certainly, at the time. But, I mean, this whole thing is so rich with facts and stories. The best one, I think it was Borman. Frank Borman, is it? Who was, there were three astronauts who, before the moon landing, circled the moon, went out to the moon, circled it a couple of times, and then came back. Okay. And Borman talked about the fact that they had this thing that looked a lot like a top hat. And what it was is it was to be used to shit in. Yeah, I know you always wondered about that. What do they do for a bathroom up there? Well, what they did was they had this thing that looked like a top hat, and then you would simply, I guess, sit on it and shit, and then I don't know what you did with the shit once it was in there. I think maybe there was a bag or something in there, and then and then you stowed your shit. Also, at the beginning of that flight, I can't remember which guy. Maybe it was White. I don't know. I'm trying to remember who the. Here we got. Chaffee was the third, but I can't remember his first name. Yeah, he was the third guy up there in space. But when they were taking off, or after they just took off, got violently ill and threw up and shit his pants. And they said that took some very interesting cleaning up in the cabin, because all his shit and puke was floating around. But the best thing was Borman, who said that because he refused to shit in this top hat, that he didn't shit for the whole trip back and forth. Okay? Which had to be about 6 days, maybe. If I remember correctly, it was like about 2.5 up, 2.5 back, maybe a day circling, right? So it was like 7 days that he didn't take a shit. He said, the first thing I did when we landed is I said, somebody get me to a bathroom. He said, and they wanted to do interviews and everything. He said, I had to go shit. I had to go take a dump. He said, I perhaps hold the record for the longest time, for the longest amount of miles not taking a dump. He said it was 3/4 of a million miles that I didn't shit for 3/4 of a million miles. So anyway, little things like that. It's a wonderful, wonderful documentary. And congratulations to PBS for doing it. It's on their American Experience thing. And it's just great. It's just great. Just terrific. Anyway, I will remember my whole moon stuff and so on. Anyway, where are we? Okay, let me turn on the phones here. And then, of course, I'll have to go through the whole process of then giving everybody a place in line, or place on our picture. As you look over, you see it's all blank over there, but it won't be in a few minutes. So as soon as somebody calls, we'll start putting them on. Oh God, my chest is hurting tonight again. I think it's from sitting wrong. But anyway, and my back is itching, and nobody's calling. Well, anyway, I'll see you again. That's it for tonight, and we'll call it quits now, because nobody's calling, and I guess that's the way it should be, because I haven't been around for 3 days. So let me grab my theme here. Let me see here. Where is it? Oh, over here. Okay, there we go. Hold on a second, folks. Yeah, nobody's calling. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, that's it for tonight, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. This is what happens when I don't do a show for 3 days. Oh, wait a minute. Vernon Nunn is calling. Okay, well, I can't hang up now because Vernon Nunn is calling. There's Vernon. Let me see here. Are you there, Vernon? Okay, let me just take you and put you up. Oh, you're already up there because you were, I think, in that place before. So there we go. And here comes Charlie Wallace. I think Charlie will probably have a place here because I have no idea, but I think he was in like a third place. I don't know. Where was Charlie? Well, I'll take Charlie and put him in here. Well, there's Scott Boddicker. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Everybody, stop it a second. I gotta get everybody here. Scott Boddicker will go there. Okay. Let me see here. Do we have that? Scott, are you there? Scott Boddicker. Huh. Oh, I see. He's not really not online. So I'll put Vernon. No, Vernon's already in there. Charlie Wallace. There we go. Okay. Charlie, are you there? Yeah. Okay. And Patrick. Patrick, can you guys hear me? Oh, I see. I a couple of days off, and I can't remember where I'm supposed to be. Let me see here. Here, okay, Jeff Stein. Boy, this gets confusing. Let me see here. First of all, Darth Pat. Okay, there is Patrick. Okay, and then we go over to the. I got to go over to the 6 here. So let me get number 4 would be Jeff. We'll put Jeff in there. Okay. Jeff Stein. There we go. Okay. There he is. Okay. And as you can see, folks, look at them. There they are. They're all there. Okay. That's so far. All right. Hello, everybody. How are you this evening?
Hi.
Yeah.
Fun.
Good. Any of you have any feelings about the moon at all? I mean, or should I just not even wax poetic about it?
Let me get number 4 would be Jeff.
Wait a minute. Michael, you got to turn off your audio of the citizen panel, or you're going to screw us.
I was a NASA junkie.
You were a NASA junkie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too. Let me see here. There we go. There we go, Michael. Let me see here. Do we Michael, you need to turn your camera on, Michael.
I do?
Yeah, your camera isn't on.
Fucking Skype.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I need to do. Hold on.
You know what you need to do? Okay.
I'm going through Wirecast, so I gotta turn on.
Yeah.
There.
Trying to get too fancy with us, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was desperate because you were ending the show, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta turn everything on.
Oh well.
You got me yet or no?
Huh? Yeah, I got you. We got you. Yes. Yes, Jeff. How are you? What?
Yeah. So, as far as the moon and stuff, Pam's my wife. Her dad bought the first TV that they ever owned just to see the moon.
Just to see the moon.
That was it.
Wow. Well, actually, he got a TV set kind of got a TV set late at their house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was one of the holdouts, huh?
Yeah, but he was involved in working on it.
Oh, really? How was he involved?
Worked in telemetry.
He worked on telemetry.
Okay, well, that's very important. You know.
Yeah.
They have a woman on the show who worked in, the what do we call it? The main control room, whatever. Mission control. And she was responsible for getting them back, literally, using a lot of that telemetry and everything. And she was hot. She was good looking. So they promoted her all over the place, like a smart, sexy woman, right? And she didn't mind being portrayed that way because, as she put it, it was, it was an encouragement to young girls that, they could wind up doing the same thing. So that was pretty good, and if you see her in it, you'll get a chance to see an absolutely sexy-looking woman. So anyway, hello, Phil. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Outside of the fact that my chest is hurting tonight.
Yeah, it's payback.
No, I think it's what do you call it?
Lead poisoning?
No, I can't even remember words anymore. Why did I even come back for another day? Can't even remember.
Angina.
Words. No, I don't have a vagina. No, it isn't.
He wishes he did.
It isn't an angina. I had my heart just checked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
With
So
echocardiogram.
I fell asleep for the last 10 or 12 minutes of your monologue.
Why did you fall asleep, Phil?
I was sitting in the chair. The air conditioner was on. The chair is comfortable. It's an easy chair. Feet go up, and so I don't know. Are you dying or what's going on?
None of your business.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, where are we? So I didn't bore you with the moon story. It just was good for dozing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Patrick.
Well, it looks like Charlie's had his hand up longer than I have.
Oh, really? I can't see because you got this fucking Skype that you only can put so many people on the main screen. So if you don't have like Charlie on the main screen, I can't see him putting his hand up. So let me move him into the main screen here. And if I'm looking at the what goes out over the air, it's a whole different story. So it's smaller, and so sometimes I don't see it. But anyway, okay, let's go to Charlie first. Yes, Charlie.
I just wanted to show you my shirt. When I was a kid, Pluto was a planet.
Very nice, and it should be. There are some people who argue that it should have planet status. Yes,
Yeah.
Patrick.
I've always been interested in sci-fi and books like C.S. Lewis, the Space Trilogy, H.G. Wells, First Men in the Moon, Time Machine, that sort of thing. So anything dealing with NASA, if there's a show on, I'll be watching it. And now that you mentioned this, I will be searching for this.
It's really terrific. It's really terrific.
You said when you were a kid there were no astronauts. Didn't you have Flash Gordon and all of that stuff?
Those weren't astronauts. Those were fictional characters.
Fictional characters.
Well, going to the moon was fictional at that point.
Well, I mean, he didn't go to the moon.
No, he had the backpack and
that was
jet around.
that was Buck Rogers.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Flash Gordon went to Mongo,
oh,
planet Mongo,
Yeah.
where Ming the Merciless was the ruler.
sounds like Gabnet.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get that joke, but we'll just.
Oh, Ming the Merciless.
I still don't get the joke.
All right. Well, that's because you're a Democrat. You have no sense of humor.
I see. Boy, this air conditioning is not putting out tonight. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
I used to be like that with my girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, I loved all that stuff when I was growing up, and I was way ahead of the curve because in those days, what did kids care about? Cowboys and Indians. That was the basic fare. And yeah, you had your Flash Gordon, but that was a flash in the pan, and Buck Rogers, both played by Buster Crabbe. I think Buck Rogers was on Mars, if I'm not mistaken. But the bad guy in that one was Killer Kane.
See, I don't remember much of the plots.
Well, the plots.
Because I was born in '54, and a lot of that stuff.
Well, in most of those serials, nothing happened except at the beginning and the end of the episode. In between, it was all filler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, Patrick.
I just looked up the word astronaut, and appeared that it wasn't until 1959
That the term came into fashion.
Right, and the thing is, they had a debate within NASA as to whether or not they should use cosmonaut or astronaut, because astro indicated to the stars, but they eventually settled on, and obviously the Russians used cosmonaut. So
well cosmonaut probably cosmonaut probably would settle, be an important designation for that. But cosmonaut, the Russians were using, and we were so Russian hating at the time that let me see here. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hey, my brother from another mother.
What? What do you mean, your brother from another? Would you turn your? Would you? You will not be allowed on this program until you put your phone in landscape mode, Dan.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, that's much better. There we go.
Okay, I haven't used. I remember you guys were talking about this new Skype is like the most horrible thing that's ever happened. So I'm just trying it now, actually.
Yeah. It's not wonderful, It's not wonderful.
Alex, he has the same last name.
What?
He's got the same last name as me.
Yeah.
So that's why he's a brother from another mother.
Done.
Oh boy. It takes.
Yeah, but Alex doesn't get this stuff. It's getting slower and slower.
I'm getting very slow. Yeah, I'm getting very slow. Yeah. So you had a problem with that?
Yeah, look at us. We're walking. Look at us. We're talking.
Well, I took a couple of days off, and that was enough to make me just get used to not doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Like exercise. We missed you, Alex.
Huh?
We missed you.
Well, I guess. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I was actually going to call in on Wednesday night. I was like, I'm going to call. I've been thinking about it for a while. And then I couldn't.
Yeah. You couldn't because I wasn't here.
Right. Yeah. Well, here I am.
Well, I was almost going to take tonight off too, but because I've been getting up awfully early lately, like getting along on 5 hours sleep, and so that makes me punchy. And I've got this thing with my upper chest here. Maybe just from sitting wrong. It could also be that the coffee is irritating my esophagus. These are things that I guess happen as you get older. So anyway, let me see here. What else is new? So we got the space thing. I'm glad you're all excited about the fact. But here's the thing, and I was going to mention this in my monologue, that bothered me, is that everybody was. I started saying it, and then I didn't continue the thought. I was excited about the fact that everybody was involved in watching this thing, felt a very communal spirit in the whole world. The world had done something. It wasn't just America. It wasn't just. Although the race with the Russians is what propelled us to do what we did. But I mean. And I thought that this would be the beginning of space travel. And even Wernher von Braun in the documentary says, well, now that we've done this, we can be to Mars in the next 20 years. And that didn't do it, somehow, after we got to the moon, the honeymoon was over. I mean, that was it. We never went back. And that really was shitty. I mean, we should have gone back. I'll tell you something, Michael. I love the pictures, but they're kind of distracting.
Okay, I just wanted, when you were done, I was going to tell you about this new thing they built at the Rose Bowl. That's pretty awesome.
That they built? Well, tell us about it.
They're going to cut to it. So they built this big tent that has this full immersive experience, and they recreate the whole countdown.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Let me put that picture up there.
The video's coming up.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wait till you see, they show you the inside of this. There.
What is this?
This is at the Rose Bowl right now.
Oh, really?
So they have like a cast of people pretending to be, you know, the flight director and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's very nice.
That's kind of cool.
It's kind of like a planetarium on steroids.
Right.
Yeah.
They literally just built it for just the 50th anniversary.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. We're fine.
All right.
It's cool.
That's cool.
Anyway, hello, Tony. Show us more of your face. Take that camera and kind of move. Center your face. Oh, there we go. See? I mean, if you did those braces and you straighten those teeth, damn it, you should get your money's worth and show it to everybody. You know.
$100 and I owe $300 and that's it on the braces.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it. I got to go over there and make a little payment soon.
Yeah, but then it's another $1,000 for them to take them off.
He still wanted me, you know. Remember I told you he wanted to do like that 1 to the 3, whatever the straighten. I'm not doing anything else. Fuck that.
Yeah, yeah.
He wanted the cap.
So it's been that long now. How many years has it been?
I had him on 3 years. Now I'm just having like retainers.
Yeah.
I took an extra year and a half to get
and they
him
look
better.
pretty straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's taking that out. Show us.
Yeah.
Look at that. He used to look, he looked like Snaggletooth. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like Jabba Jaws.
Yes, Patrick. Patrick.
Oh, I just wanted to tell Tony, not only are we happy for your teeth, but the more we see of you, the less we see of that fucking shit behind you.
Oh, I cleaned the drapes last week. Patrick, I cleaned these. I had this was a bitch to put back on the hooks. I had to tape the edges. I cleaned the drapes last Saturday.
Did you really? Oh, that's wonderful.
I swear to God, I did.
I'm surprised they didn't dissolve.
Did Alex? And you know, we're gonna put it on hooks. I had to have my sister help me.
Oh, okay. All right.
The trick is to put a piece of tape on the edge of the hook, and it just slides right in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was kind of easy, really.
Really?
But it was. You need 2 people though.
Mm-hmm. And look, Mike has his dog.
Here's Penny,
There.
who has been bugging me to come up.
Yeah, she's beautiful. She's a gorgeous dog.
Is that a basket?
Wow.
It's an English Springer Spaniel.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, let me see here. Let me show everybody. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on.
I thought if I talk, it would switch to it. No.
There we go. Yeah, switch to it, and there we.
Penny.
There we go.
Oh, look at that Penny. Oh, such a Why do we talk that way? Dogs must listen to you. They must, dogs must hear. But dogs must hear you do. Dogs must hear you do that and just go, "Fuck you."
Imagine the dog would start talking. That'd be funny. Holy moly, the dog's talking English. Imagine a dog can really talk. That'd be like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Birds talk. Why not? You never know.
Right. So anyway, let me see here. I'm trying to think. Is there anything that's been happening in the news? Well, we had what's his name resign today.
Oh yeah.
Alex Acosta.
Yeah, Alex Acosta.
He had to fall on the sword because the longer he's there, the closer it'll get to Trump. So.
Yeah.
It'll get close to Trump anyway, but with him gone, it might distract a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trump could use that distraction because now with these Vice raids, this thing is.
Oh my God.
That's a big story here in LA.
Does this guy wake up in the morning and say, "How cruel can I be today?" You know. Yes, Patrick.
Oh, playing to the base.
See, we were lucky here in Milwaukee today because we had Donald Trump and my girl, Marianne Williamson. She was doing a town hall somewhere in Milwaukee. And if I had any motivation to go see her, I would have went, because just to listen to her idiotic bullshit fly out of her mouth would have been worth, I don't know, $5 to donate to her campaign.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got to keep her in the race as long as possible. She's gonna win with love.
Yeah.
No, embrace the love.
And we had Williamson here, and I thought there couldn't be two people that are further apart, not only ideologically, but just on a human being scale. You know, one is all love, and the other one is not all love.
Well, who was the other one?
Trump.
Oh, Trump. Oh, Trump came to your town?
Trump was here all day today.
Oh, really?
Oh, shit.
He had some speech he was giving at a aerospace thing, and then there was a private donation party, whatever, and something else. And then Williamson was here for a town hall. And yesterday we had Warren, Castillo, I think Beto was here, and maybe Kamala Harris, I don't know. And then, so that was yesterday. They had a big town hall, which I don't understand what the fuck that was about, but my girl was here today. So.
Well, I mean, Trump's already running for president again. You know, it's a little early, but he's running for president again.
He's never stopped.
By the way, Phil tonight missed his scuba. What was it? Your scuba photo, your underwater photo club, which I thought maybe it's a photo club. They all meet underwater. You know.
No. This they have a lecture and then they have a competition. It's once a month, and so I figured I didn't know if you'd need support or whatever. So I'm here, rather than taking.
Well, that's very nice of you, Phil, and I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
I was really upset that Trump was saying the AOC was lying about what she saw and what she heard at the border.
Did you see her in front of the fence? You see her in the white outfit with the red lipstick in front of the chain link.
She can't help looking good and having fashion sense, Phil.
It was a parking lot, empty parking lot in the Bronx, and it was a photo op. She was acting horrified.
What does this have to do with what she saw at the border and Trump denying it?
It was a lie that she did. And she also said that they were drinking from toilets.
Oh, wait a minute.
The toilets are one piece to where you got the toilet and you got the sink above it, just like in most detention facilities. And so she says they're drinking from toilets.
Okay, so what were they doing? Drinking from the sink?
Yes. Well, no, they had things that they could use to drink from the sink. They didn't have to stick their head on a faucet or something.
35 men in one cage, and there's not enough room for them to even lie down on the concrete.
I don't think that's the case, but that's the fault of the Congress.
Oh, that's the fault of the Congress. Yeah, blame it on the Congress. You know, you could also blame it on
the fault of AOC. Matter of fact, your AOC is now pulling the race card. Race card. You know, now she's going after Pelosi. You guys are beginning to eat your own.
Well, Pelosi needs
I
love it.
I'm okay with her going after Pelosi because I'm tired of her.
So you're saying she's eating Pelosi?
She's, we're moving leftward.
Yeah, she says that Pelosi's not a racist, but she's singling out all the women and of color and giving them busy work so that they'd shut their mouths.
Does this bother you, Phil?
No, I love it. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. You know, I mean, the only thing they haven't done yet is light themselves on fire. You know,
I read an article that the DNC convention next year is in what city was it? But there's
Moscow.
No. But there was 50,000 attendees and only 12,000 rooms in this city.
It's going to be like a detention facility.
Yes, Patrick.
That's good.
What?
That's good.
This is what they were drinking out of. It's a combination that they have in all in jail.
Detention facilities.
So you've got the toilet and the sink together. There are two separate water lines. So you can get potable water out of the sink, and you can shit in the toilet. And the other thing is, the convention is coming to Milwaukee.
Well, how do people know? How do people know that they're supposed to shit on the bottom part of it and wash their hands in the upper part of it? Because I remember once in grade school, they came up with a new idea, and it was this big round thing, and they had pedals on the bottom. When you push the pedals, water sprinkled out of them.
That's for washing
Well,
your
wait
hands.
a minute. We didn't know what it was for. Nobody told us what it was for. Some people were washing their hands in it, and other people were pissing in it. You know.
You ever have to piss and somebody else is using the toilet? You know, sink is, it's fair game.
And do we know that those are the
It's
specific
put
toilets
yes.
that they were using when they say were drinking out of the toilets?
That's the toilets that they use in detention facilities.
Do we know that was the case where they said that certain people were having to drink out of the toilet?
Yes, that I believe is the case.
Phil,
That's exactly what we had. So,
hey, look, I mean, all I'll say is Trump is just very cruel. He's very cruel.
Identity politics.
What do you mean What do you mean? What now? Was that a new
He's
term?
cruel. He's xenophobic.
Is that the newest term? Is that the newest word released?
He's anti-Hispanic.
It's all true.
Well, yeah, he is.
Oh, he's anti-immigrant. He's very much anti.
He keeps marrying them.
Well,
he married an illegal.
he doesn't mind. Well, no, but in his mind, it's okay to fuck them. Because you're violating them, but it's not okay.
I guess he's a good politician, because that's the way they think. It's okay to fuck them.
He's not a great politician. Terrible politician.
You feel like he's fucking everybody.
Yeah. Yes, Patrick.
I would like everybody to have the opportunity to bitch about Milwaukee and the Democrat mayor and the Democrat governor who lobbied for this Democratic convention to come here that have inadequate space. Go ahead, everybody bitch, because I thought it was an asinine idea.
Patrick?
Enough room, and you're going to have 50,000 people, so...
They're going to let them stay in the sports stadium like they did in New Orleans during the hurricane.
Oh, that was a travesty. They were killing people in there, remember? Weren't they raping people and mugging them?
Come on, somebody
that's Queens.
Democrats.
Well, that's probably right about that. Yeah,
Well, this has nothing to do with being Democratic. It has nothing to do with being a Republican. And it has to do with being a human being who cares about other human beings and doesn't like to see them suffer or see them be separated from their parents.
Then let them not try to enter the country illegally.
Bullshit, Phil. Bullshit. Once they get here, we become responsible for them, and we should not treat them in a way which just absolutely goes against. I mean, this president actually should be brought before the Hague for this kind of behavior.
You got an extra bedroom, just stand aside.
Yeah, they're not coming in illegally. They're seeking asylum.
Yeah, it's not illegal.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute.
Asylum card.
Hey, Phil, that's legal. That's legal.
They let them seek asylum in the next country, which is Mexico.
Well, why not here? Why not here? We got a lot of room. Yes, Patrick.
All I will say to what your statement was with the Hague is I would have no problem with that. But here's the thing. Obviously, the rest of the world does not feel what's happening here is that bad. Otherwise, there would be other countries that would be calling for some sort of United Nations intervention.
Well, there absolutely isn't any United Nations intervention in this thing, and there should be.
Because it's not breaking the law.
You can't. If you want that, it must not be bad enough, because I don't hear on the news from any country, anywhere, saying that what the United States is doing is horrible. If it was, then you would have at least, let's say, Mexico, or you would have one of the South American countries or Central American countries saying, they're treating people terribly. or you would hear people in Britain or in the Netherlands. I mean, give it a break because.
Patrick, the United Nations is too busy condemning Israel.
Yeah, well, Phil, but on a serious note.
I am serious.
On a serious note, if the United Nations felt it was bad, something would be said, or other countries would be saying something. So I don't hear shit. So if they do, I would have no problem with, if that's what they want to do. But obviously, it's not that horrible.
That's a great point. I wonder why they haven't said anything.
Maybe they've said it and we're just not reporting it.
Oh, sure. No, they're just happy that United States has this thorn in its side that it has to deal with, kind of like what they do with the Palestinians and the Israelis.
No,
they just sit back, give them bombs instead of food.
I think a lot of these countries
like our money. That's why.
I think a lot of hold on a second. Jeff has his hand up. Yes, Jeff.
Alex, you listen to BBC.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of response do you get there?
It's pretty much reporting it like it's reported here. That, these are bad conditions for these people, and they're being treated inhumanely. It seems to be the general way in which the BBC reports it, but it's hard to tell because that BBC feed is aimed at the United States, and so it's going to take a story like that and blow it up more than say. I mean, if we were sitting in England, the question is how big would that story be? All right. I'm sure every night on BBC in England, the first story is Brexit. I mean, it's because all news is
local.
is proximity. Yeah.
Some people said local.
Local's not the word. Proximity.
Yeah.
Yes, and if the news item doesn't have proximity, then people don't really care. I mean. I think probably this story is a bigger story the closer you get to it. I'm
see
sure
Dan's got his hand up if he's in a circle.
Yes, Dan.
Dan.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna mention was that I mean, obviously, there's lots of horrible things that go on in the world that the UN either doesn't know about. Or, of course, probably the UN probably has to have a certain amount. There's a certain criteria that they're not just going to intervene. But, I'm sure there's people talking about it. And I know there's protests all over the world about it. So
they're not protesting in Hong Kong. I mean, the Hong Kong protesters, the UN isn't saying anything.
They got something closer to home to protest about there. So
what do you mean?
Oh, they have
2 million people in the street.
Well, it's China.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole story, but some about extradition of prisoners.
They don't say anything about the 2 million Muslims they got in detention camps trying to relearn and become.
Well, how about the ones the Israelis have in detention camps?
Yeah, they're called prisoners.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're terrorists and prisoners.
No, they're not terrorists. They're not terrorists and prisoners, Phil.
The people.
They're actually they have documented over the years. They have documented over the years in Israel concentration camps for Palestinians and people of that sort.
Don't change. It's not a what about.
No, it's not a what about. What I'm saying is
they're only being jailed because of their religion.
What?
And
what?
The 2 million Muslims in China, they call them Uyghurs.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. The demonstrations where?
Well, there's two. They're not demonstrating. These people are being held in concentration camps. It's a group called the Uyghurs, and I think there's either 1 million or 2 million now. They're saying
it's an ethnic group in Western China, I think.
Right, and so they're being forced to give up their religion and relearn and accept the Chinese communism, and they're being held in camps. Now, the UN isn't saying anything about these guys either.
The UN hasn't been saying much about anything. Which means
sad.
Yeah, it's not doing its job. Hey, listen, we haven't heard a word from Vernon. Hi, Vernon. He just
I'm just
waved.
taking it all in.
He's just taking it all in. Anytime you want to jump in, you're welcome to.
He looks
Yeah,
relaxed.
I'm using a new tablet here. Yeah, I'm using a new tablet down in the family room. So
Oh, I see. Okay, looks great. Is it a big one? Is it the big tablet, or is it just a regular?
it's a Samsung 10-inch.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, they all work now. Apple.
I've got YouTube up on the big 47-inch screen across the room there, so I can see the feed that's pulling out on YouTube at the same time with the sound turned down.
Well, if everybody waves at him, he'll see it in about another 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I got that. That's the same setup I've gone over in my PC. So
Yeah. We got a lot of people. We've actually hit an all-time high for people watching at one time tonight. Maybe I should only do this once a week.
You've been saying that.
Yeah. I mean,
There's huge anticipation tonight.
we just hit like 44 watching at one time. That's getting pretty high. But
One more, and you can celebrate Trump, the Trump level.
the Trump what?
oh my goodness.
Well, you got 44 is Obama, 45 is Trump.
How long
Yeah,
have
just saw the waves.
How long have I not been on the show? It's been like a while, right?
It's been a
Couple
long
years.
time.
Yeah.
You got a full house.
Still hasn't changed one
Yeah, wait a minute,
bit.
hold on a second. I got to let me see here. That's who'd I just add?
I just didn't do that.
up.
Gotta get Kevin in here.
Yeah, I got to get Kevin.
Needs a different
Well, wait a
screen.
minute. Mr.
Yeah.
Dan, Mike Hog Rider. There he is. There's so many names
Screw you
now.
up?
No, there's just so many
You got
names
full
that
house.
I've had to. Oops, there we go. I really wanted it to do this, so it would fade over and be nice and not as jarring. This is. Let me see here. I got to do one other thing here. Let me see here.
What's that shirt say, Kevin? What
Fuck
does your
Alex.
shirt say, Kevin?
Fuck ALF.
Ah.
Okay, and let's see here. It's a full house, right? Is that right, Phil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
There we go.
And
It's a
yeah.
full house. Yep.
All right.
Nice.
Okay. So there we go.
Yeah, I don't.
Everybody. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see it yet
Better?
because of the delay.
Of course. But, you'll all see it in about another 30 seconds or something like that. Anyway, I just, and then these ice raids this weekend, there's just a more humane way to handle all of this. And far
all
be
a
it.
bit
Get a refrigerator.
What?
Don't have an ice raid. Just get a refrigerator.
It's all a big sham. It's all a big distraction.
Make a joke out of it.
Does Phil understand the Democrats want all of the illegal aliens who have committed crimes out of the country?
No. They want porous borders. They want
they
them to
don't.
come in.
Do
They
not
want
bullshit.
an instant pass
That's a lie,
for
Phil. That's a
citizenship and
lie.
voting.
That's absolute lie, Phil.
Oh yeah.
That's you've been watching.
That's not based on.
You've
the
been watching
results.
too much Newsmax.
You're listening to too much Sean Hannity.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Maybe you're not listening to enough.
As a Democrat, I don't want porous borders, but I want reasonable borders, and I want a somewhat welcoming atmosphere once they get here. That we're not going to make what is a terrible plight for them even worse by adding to it. Yes, Dan. It's been so long, Dan.
The separating of the families is just punitive and being cruel for cruelty's sake.
Yep.
And there's no reason to do that. I mean, I remember that George Takei, he was in a Japanese American internment camp in World War II. He said at least he was with his family. He wouldn't know what he'd do without that.
Yeah. Well, he also brought up another point. He said these are concentration camps. And the person who was interviewing him said, well, as a Jew, I kind of feel you're using that term, but that was the term we used for the camps in Germany. And he said, and then he very wisely said, no, those were not concentration camps. Those were death camps. Those were death camps.
Yeah.
And their main reason for existence was extermination. These are concentration camps. And he said, what I was in as a Japanese person was a concentration camp.
Right.
I agree with that.
What happened to the Japanese, other than the death part, was very similar to what happened to the Jews and gypsies and others.
And what's happening to the Mexicans now?
No, because they're being separated because their parents are being detained. Now, with the separations not taking place anymore, they stopped the family separations. People.
Well, because they didn't have a plan on how they could get them back together once they resolved the problem.
And they're still separated.
Didn't they put bracelets on them? You know, those home bracelets on their ankles, the ankle bracelets, to keep track of them.
No, I don't know about that.
I think that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And if you take them off, it's hard to keep track of them.
They took them off when they deported them, so they don't have them on anymore. So they have no idea where they are.
Well, they only loaned it to them.
Funny, Phil.
It's hard to know your name. You're 3 months old.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but they know there's a signal that comes out of those things.
Oh yeah, they're really high tech.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, hey, your friend, what's his name, Epstein's going to be wearing one.
He was going to work.
Friend.
How is that possible?
Yeah, but there's an obsessiveness that Trump has with this whole thing. Like, he wants to accomplish this because he said, that's what I'm going to do. And nobody can stop me. I mean, the whole thing about having a thing on the census about saying you were an immigrant or alien or whatever, not a citizen.
Are you a citizen?
You're not a citizen. He couldn't get it. He couldn't get it through the courts. The courts told him he was full of shit. I think the Supreme Court said no, you can't put that on the census. And yet he was for the last week he's been saying, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
He's doing an executive order to do a survey.
You can't do an executive order to undo a court order, Phil.
He decided not to, Phil.
Oh.
He has no concept of what his limitations are as president. You know.
He has no understanding of the Constitution, period.
He doesn't have to, because everybody just lets him get away with whatever the fuck he wants to do.
Thank you, Nancy Pelosi.
At least he tries.
Yes.
What do you mean he tries?
He tried.
Yeah.
Everything.
He's got a position. He's trying to do what he said he was going to do. And,
by the way, did you get the thing, Phil? Did you get the thing, Phil? I sent you. That Vern sent me about the Justice Department.
That had nothing to do.
Yes,
with
it did.
Acosta.
Yes, it did. Absolutely.
He doesn't give a fuck about checks and balances.
No, because he said that Acosta did a great job at getting the job numbers up. And the fact is, he didn't have anything to do with it. That is not the function of the Department of Labor.
And I said you're splitting hairs, and
No, I'm not splitting hairs.
No,
did you see the description?
He needs to know how the government works. Just a theory.
Yeah. He really doesn't know how the government works. I'm surprised that, I'm surprised we're still in some kind of shape because he doesn't have enough people in appointed places to handle the government. He's a very lazy president who I imagine doesn't do much every day. He just has
doesn't
people.
care about governing.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
No, he doesn't care about. Yes, politics.
He was in Milwaukee today.
Yes. What was he doing in Milwaukee?
He was visiting his constituents.
He was campaigning, Phil.
What do you think most politicians do from the moment they get elected?
Well, you say he wasn't there campaigning, Patrick?
There was no rally. He did have. There was a private party for him.
Oh well.
Right, which could be considered campaigning, but there was no rally here. There was a private party at a house, and he visited a business, and that was the extent of it. So there was no rally at Miller Park or any bullshit like that.
What happens? Who pays the bill for Air Force One on these things that are obviously political junkets?
So glad you do.
We do.
We do.
We all do.
But I understood that, for instance, when Obama was running for president, the Democratic Party paid for Air Force One whenever it went somewhere for political purposes.
They did?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Trump doesn't believe in that, though.
Well, he believes in getting everything for free.
I don't know that that's not true or it is true.
He believes in getting everything for free because he can't afford anything. Okay.
Mm. Well, he was going to borrow it from Epstein, but he had to put up his $77 million mansion as collateral. Hey, I think not to change the subject, but with Epstein, I think there's a lot of political figures that are going to get exposed, once he goes to trial. I think that's why there was a sweetheart deal in the first place, is because there were too many bigwigs that are going to go down for this.
Let it all hang out. Let it all hang out. Let the air cleanse.
Yeah.
Phil's hoping Bill Clinton's in that list.
Nah, I'm not, but I know he is.
Well, I mean, a guy like Epstein, he was a big political contributor. He liked that world, and so I mean, the fact that he may have given some people money for their campaigns and things like that doesn't mean that they're child predators. Okay, it just means they thought this guy was very on the up and up, and probably would not take his money today. Okay.
Did you see the woman that is accusing Alan Dershowitz of raping her on Epstein's island? And Dershowitz is saying this is absolutely not true, and she also implicated Al and Tipper Gore.
Why? What?
She implicated Al and Tipper Gore as being on the island when she was and got raped.
This sounds like a really bad CBS series.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny?
A reality show called what we call Rape Island.
Rape
They fly him in. Alex,
you fly in, but you don't fly out. That's
you don't fly, and it's no tattoo waving to you goodbye.
Yeah.
And they come on vacation and they leave on probation.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
That was Sonny Bono when he was the mayor of Palm Springs. That's what he would say during spring break.
We come here on vacation and we send
leave
him home
on probation.
And leave on probation.
You know what's funny is that Michael Vick went to jail for the dogs, and this Dershowitz. Anybody else would have went. Anybody else who got linked with Dershowitz would have been in the slammer.
Dershowitz didn't do anything wrong. He was the attorney that represented Epstein.
Anybody else who wasn't, if he wasn't a billionaire, he'd be in jail already.
By the way, I don't put down anybody, including Dershowitz, who I'm not a big fan of, who would defend him. I think it's perfectly reasonable.
Gets a defense.
Well, I mean, because you need a defense. Everybody needs a defense. And they need the best defense they can get. And whoever works for them. I mean, what a good defense attorney would do with this guy is say, well, look, let's find out where you're innocent and where you're guilty. I'm not going to go in and plead you're innocent for something that you say you're guilty of. Okay? So don't tell me anything that you don't want me to know. But if you tell me that you did this, I will do everything I can to get you the least possible sentence. Yeah, yes,
Can you imagine what he would tell the guy?
Yeah.
Do you think a lawyer would just walk out and say, I can't take this guy's case, but he's probably going to pay him a lot of money? I wonder if you just walk away from it.
No, you don't walk away from it because everybody needs a defense. Okay? Patrick.
Yeah, and I remember the other night everybody was quibbling about what he was called. And I believe the final term that was decided on was just sexual predator. And then he had to register.
I think it was sexual predator. I think that what he said was he was called a sexual predator, but he wasn't called a sexual something, which was far worse.
Sexual predator.
I was talking about PC 290. Which is Megan's Law, and he had to register as a sex offender.
I'm so fucking sick of hearing about Megan. Fuck her.
Who's Megan?
Well, that's the whole idea.
This Epstein sounds like a creep.
What? Oh, Epstein. Well, look, no, now, Tony.
He's Alex's neighbor.
Again, Tony. Well, he's Tony's neighbor, too.
Really?
Tony, I mentioned this the other night. Maybe you didn't hear it. But really, you can only call him a creep for the thing he pleaded guilty to back in, 2004? When was it? 2005?
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah. But so far as this situation is concerned, you got to wait for him to have his day in court before you make any assumptions about guilt or innocence. Because you weren't there, you didn't see it, you don't know, you know? And his presumption, the presumption of innocence is something I think that's probably one of the major forces in our Constitution, you know? That we
But do you think like people like Trump and Epstein, they have so much money that they think they're just untouchable? Like I can buy my way out of anything.
Well, I think Trump thinks that. I think he has a wrong impression about what being president is that you can simply sign some piece of paper and it becomes law. You know, that's not so. I don't know who is you know, giving him advice, but they're giving him bad advice.
I mean, besides Stephen Miller?
He talks to him.
But I mean, you know, it's just
Sean Hannity?
Huh?
Sean Hannity?
Yeah. I mean,
Dan the man's up.
Yeah, oh, yes, Dan.
Oh, well, the thing I was going to bring up was like, supposedly Trump is a masterful as far as like he knows his audience, he knows exactly how to play them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then the guy can't even dress himself.
Yeah, he's a pig of a dresser.
Yeah, he can. See?
The shirt.
Did you see that joke of an outfit he was wearing in England? I think his handler did that.
Crazy colors.
Somebody said, let's give him the most fucked up tie and tails you've ever seen, with his belly hanging over the edge of it. You know, that's what that one was all about. You know,
I think
like,
the rental.
This is really how it works, right? This is absolutely, you know.
The tux rental place fucked them and switched tuxes on him.
Doesn't he seem?
They didn't have his size.
Well, nobody has his size.
Pretty huge.
You know.
So
it's the elastic pants now that just keep giving.
What'd you say, Tony? Tony?
He froze.
Just keep giving. Every time he's eating out, he's getting bigger. He's getting bigger by the day.
Oh, yeah. He's a fat pig.
Jeremy Kramer used to have a line. He says, my size is portly cadet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making fun of
I like that.
I mean, he looks like he looks like he's aging something horrible.
Well, it's like
Larry something years old.
Larry Bubbles Brown line about, you know, what's he cutting his Coke with? Butter.
Butter. Hey, you know, your friend Bob Rubin on the 24th is going to be at one of the last shows I guess they're having at the Punchline.
I don't think they're closing the Punchline down.
Really?
They saved it?
The latest word I got is that they're not going to, because the city said they can't zone it for like a gymnasium, which is what Google wanted to turn it into.
Mm.
And so they're thinking of just letting them.
They did argue that. I didn't know where it was at.
Supposedly they have come to an accord, I think, to keep it open for a while, to renew the lease for a while.
So, Oh, yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, they had some big comedians come out and argue that for them too.
I think Dave Chappelle was one of them.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle was one of the leaders of it.
Yeah, the Punchline, in case people don't know, is a club in San Francisco. The premier comedy club in San Francisco ever since
Was
I
it
got
owned
there.
by Live Nation or one of those?
Well, eventually owned by Live Nation. It was started by Bill Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, but anyway.
Somebody sleeping?
Is somebody sleeping?
That's Penny.
Oh, that's your dog?
Oh, it was a dog, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at him. He's got a studio that's as big as mine. Look at this. Show him your studio there.
That's awesome.
This is my edit bay, Alex. I'm an editor, so this is my 4K edit bay.
Your 4K edit bay?
Yeah.
Doodah. Yeah.
Yeah, so up there is the YouTube stream, and then that's Skype, and this is Wirecast, and that's the web over there.
Okay. All right.
What kind of stuff do you edit?
I'm freelance. I actually worked at Entertainment Tonight this week, so.
Oh. Usually freelance means you're unemployed.
Usually. And I'm grateful that I got some great clients.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the iPhone.
And what are you using as your main machine there? Is that
It's a MacBook Pro 2017.
2017? What do you mean, the trash can?
No, it's a MacBook.
Oh, a MacBook. Oh, a MacBook.
I don't know if you can see behind here, Alex. You're really geeky. That black box there, that is, there's a separate graphics card there that's driving the 4K monitors.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's connected via Thunderbolt. Yeah. So kind of has like some external power.
Yeah. Anyway. So, here, Ray Renati is calling. Oh, boy. Watch what's going to happen.
Hey, you got, what do they call it?
Yeah, but I'm worried about
a royal flush.
I'm worried about this because I'm afraid we're going to, lose.
Is Ray in his new car?
Hey!
Wait a minute. Hold on a second, Ray. Let me find you here among all these people. Mr. Dan, Mike, Hog Rider. Oh, there he is. Okay.
There's Phil taking up my whole screen.
Okay.
There's everyone. Hey!
Are you there? Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
This looks like daytime over there. Where are you?
Hey, California.
There
we San Francisco.
You marked yourself safe in the Ridgemont earthquake. Were you in Southern California?
No, just that people were asking me.
Oh.
So I got tired of people asking me.
Okay.
Alex, I got video if you want to see it of the earthquake here.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. First of all, I got to go from what we now have up here, right? To something else.
To a royal flush.
Here we go, folks. Here we go. Here we go. It is now a royal flush. Okay.
Woo!
And so far, all the lines are working. So remember the other day when this happened, we ran into trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I'm driving, so I'll probably fade out eventually here.
Yeah.
Alex, I got video of the earthquake in my office if you want to see it.
Video of the earthquake in your office. Well, he has to start talking so I can then go to him. Hold on a second. First of all, there we go. Okay. Are you running it? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Dan, you got some noise in there. Dan.
Oh, is there noise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so.
I'm sorry. I was near my air conditioner. I apologize.
Okay. Start talking. See, when we hear Mike talk, Mike, start talking.
Yes, I'm gonna start talking, and I can play the video. It's not that exciting, but it's kind of cool.
Okay. This was now. There's some noise coming. See, we can't keep it on.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can't keep it on though because for some reason Dan is making some kind of noise that's making it.
He may have.
I moved away from the air conditioner now.
All right, I have my mic on now.
Would you?
Dan's Skype is probably set to automatic microphone.
Yeah.
And he has to unclick that.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. There's Phil. Now talk to us, Mike.
Okay. Wait. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if that'll play now. So.
You were just sitting there.
Yeah, and then if you look at my wine glass.
Mm-hmm. Where's your wine glass? I don't see it.
Next to his keyboard.
Right by the keyboard.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at the cabinet, the big cabinet behind me, you see it shaking.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
See the little. Does anything fall out of there?
No, it wasn't. I mean.
Well, it's like I'm not watching anything.
Was that the 7.1 or the 6?
This is the 7.1.
Yeah. That was. It looks like it was a 1.2.
Eventually, you're going to see my whole chair shake, and I don't know if I can.
Alex, what size did you get in the marina?
That was. It was a 6.9, and that was upgraded to a 7.1.
There, now you can see me going.
Okay.
See the whole chair rocking and the wine glass going and Penny freaking out?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see if there's anything going on, though.
Because,
the wine glass and his...
I can only tell by the reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The door is moving.
On to my desk.
The door is moving. The wine glass was moving. He had a monitor that was going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It was subtle.
It was. I've been in scarier ones, that's for sure. The one that was down here that was a 6'8" was bigger. But so you were in the marina during the Loma Prieta?
Yeah,
Alex?
yeah.
Wow. You must have had a lot of damage.
I was at the ballpark.
I didn't have a lot of damage. So was everybody else, Phil.
No,
Everybody I ever talked to says I was at the ballpark.
I was.
Yeah.
I was at work. I thought I was going to
But
die.
you see, you were at the ballpark.
Scariest I've ever been.
Yeah.
I was coming out of the stadium pub on my way to the seat.
Bullshit. I don't care whether you were at the baseball game. It doesn't really matter. I was in the marina where the buildings were falling down.
Liquefaction.
Okay? I saw destruction in a matter of minutes of an entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was standing on the San Andreas Fault, and it split right below my legs, and I had to do the splits.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, you would have had to be out. You would have had to be out near.
I was wearing stretchy pants.
Well, you'd have to be out near.
Santa Cruz.
Well, no. Well, also it goes all the way up into Marin County. There's Tamales Bay.
San Andreas.
I know, but I think
You're breaking up on us.
Wasn't there a farm on the 06 quake where they had a big gully that opened up in Marin, or I think
Fishers,
it was Marin.
They call them Fishers.
Fishers.
Yeah.
Popeil Pocket.
What is it? Point Reyes Station. I mean, no, it wasn't Point Reyes Station. There's a small little town.
Inverness?
No. It's just the crossroads. You come down through Marin, then you go right.
Occidental?
No, I can't remember the name now. But anyway, we don't want to spend the whole time trying to figure out the name of it. But that's right where the epicenter of the 1906 earthquake was.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Here's a photo of the San Andreas Fault. So you can see it goes all the way up to Cape Mendocino.
Yeah.
It goes right through Hollister.
Yeah.
But this one...
About 8 blocks or about a half a mile from here.
But I don't think this one was San Andreas, was it?
No, this was Loma Prieta.
Do you know what
it looks like the Loma Prieta here is on the San Andreas, looking at this photo here.
Yeah. Now, do you know what the biggest fault in the United States is?
No.
And that's a
Donald
big
Trump?
Yeah. He's
Does
not
it go
my
through
fault.
New York?
What?
Does it go through New York, Washington,
No.
D.C., that area?
No, it's out in the Midwest, the New Madrid.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
Supposedly huge. And we do have a fault going right through Central Park here in New York.
Did they have an earthquake today in Washington or Oregon? I think they had one today, a big one.
They've been having them up at Mount Hood.
Yeah. And no hoodies.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Trump will come up with something like, "Well, it's the fault of you could prevent those earthquakes."
Yeah, they need to scrape the snow.
Yeah.
It's the Democrats.
Or rake those trees.
It's the godless.
I love
Democrats.
it when Trump tries to be scientific.
They need to move the rocks to the other side to balance the mountain. It's all their fault.
Yeah.
They should be doing this.
If you hadn't let the rocks accumulate over hundreds of years, and if you had picked them up like I've been saying my whole life, then you wouldn't have had that.
Then the mountain wouldn't tilt that way, and everything would be fine.
Probably something about coal or something like that.
Yeah, and the worst thing you could say about what was his name, the guy they just indicted, Epstein was, I wasn't a fan. What? I wasn't a fan? Is that your take on the whole thing?
He said worse against Nancy Pelosi.
Hey, for a guy that's lived in New York for as long as you have, you really don't get New York speak, you know?
No, I don't.
What's a fan?
A fanatic.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was friends with Epstein. Now, all of a sudden, as soon as
He knew the guy.
You know, he was at his
threw him-
parties. Didn't they say he was at the party?
Well, I mean, you got to realize that Epstein was a guy who held parties and went to parties and was part of the social scene down in Florida and the social scene here in New York. You know, as I said the other night, though, the thing doesn't make sense to me. Is here's this guy who gets busted down in Florida, has to go for 13 months to jail, even though he gets out for 12 hours a day to go to work. And when he
He's
goes,
a hard-working guy.
And when he goes back to the jail,
Fucking
it's
kids
like
are
a really,
working.
really plush jail. Okay, but anyway. But still, nevertheless, his liberty was what can we call it?
Encumbered.
Encumbered. You would have thought that he would have been a little cooler about
Well,
his
if they would have put
peccadillos.
Tony's curtains in that jail, he wouldn't want to stay there.
Imagine if I was his caretaker working there. I'd throw stuff out.
Now that's torture.
I can't cook for this guy anymore. I quit.
Did you
How
notice
much
that
you
Dan's
give
not
it?
smoking? Dan
What's
was
that?
a heavy smoker. I haven't seen him smoke.
Did you quit smoking,
Yeah,
Dan?
I quit smoking.
Wow.
Wow.
I quit smoking tobacco, that is, I should clarify. But
You're doing the vape?
But we got Ray is vaping.
thing I've ever done.
Yeah,
Yeah. Ray, do you vape?
he's doing it now.
I drape.
Ray, talk to us.
He froze a little.
Uh-oh.
I've vaped for a while, but I don't like doing that either. I just gave up. Tobacco free, nicotine free.
Nicotine free. Good for you.
Yep.
Now, he was a heavy smoker. How'd you do it?
The patch.
No, this is weed.
Yeah. The patch worked for me. Doesn't work for a lot of people, but it did it for me. And I was ready to quit. You know, you got to be ready to quit.
Wait a minute, is that Ray? Is that weed you got in that vape?
Yeah, yes, it's weed. Yes.
Oh.
It's weed.
Well, that's definitely
Yeah,
safer for you than tobacco.
Yeah.
Well, it's mostly CBD. It's four parts CBD, 1 part THC. So I didn't get high on it, but it
I
helps
thought it
like
was.
my-
I thought they were daisies.
Yeah. Phil, you can arrest him right now. Put a citizen's arrest.
It's legal in this state.
You can drive and smoke pot?
No, I guess you can't.
No, it's CBD.
See, that sounds wrong.
CBD is legal in all
Arrest me,
50 states
Phil.
now.
Arrest me.
Hey, I got CBD cream that I use on my hands and
I
feet.
bet you do.
Yeah, I did.
Masturbate with.
Yeah, it comes from Denver.
It's great for jacking off, CBD.
Yeah, now I got the image of Phil checking off in my head.
Hey, you know, this cream is the CBD is like the 15th ingredient. And the first ingredient is like peppermint oil and some other crap.
Yeah, I tried some of that too, but I think I CBD
Vaseline
oil
worked just as good.
I think a lot of those products are scams.
Yeah.
Well, now here's
my Ralpher recommended.
Here's a piece of news that came through today. Facebook has been leveled with a $5 billion fine from the federal
Parking
government.
ticket.
Huh?
Just a parking ticket to them.
Exactly.
Well, they're worth 580 billion now.
Yeah.
You know. But they never hit that. You would have thought they were one of the ones who would get close to $1 trillion, but they didn't.
Yeah.
You know.
What did they get fined for?
Abuse of privacy.
Really?
Privacy abuse.
So who gets the money?
You know what happens when
they're going to use it to build the wall?
Why must we spend good money on the wall?
You
The
don't have
wall
to.
is not going to
Facebook
solve.
will pay for it.
The wall isn't going to solve your problems, Phil.
Yeah.
The wall is not going to solve that problem.
You put gates in, and then when the Mexicans come through, you charge them. This way, they pay for the wall.
They have ports of entry for that.
They ain't got no
You put machine guns on top of the wall.
You don't have it.
Turnstiles like the subway.
Yeah, good walls make good neighbors.
Not really. Not really. What,
geez,
and
Phil.
here's what I'm worried about with any wall, Phil. Walls keep people out, but they also keep people from getting out.
Yeah, that works.
Well, suppose I want to leave, and they'd say, that wall is there, and don't you go across it.
Yeah, they'll fly you out. First class.
No. I don't think so, Phil. But you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, like the Berlin Wall and so forth.
Exactly.
I remember when the Berlin Wall, when people tried to jump over it from buildings. Yeah, they try to jump from buildings that were near the wall. They ran to the wall and got shot, and
Israel put up.
But that was the communists. Nobody wanted to stay there.
Yeah.
Like walls Israel.
But anyway, so what else is there? Anything else in the news?
Well, Ross Perot passed away.
Yes, of course. We lost Ross Perot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Tom Yamaguchi come in and tell us about who died.
Yeah. Well, we lost a couple of people, didn't we, in the last couple of days?
He kind of away from Trump a little bit, didn't he?
We also lost Rip Torn.
Rip Torn.
Yeah.
Rip Torn, yeah.
Oh,
Wasn't he on Hollywood Squares? He was on Hollywood Squares, right?
No.
Yeah, I remember that.
He wasn't on Hollywood
Rip
Squares.
Torn wasn't on Hollywood Squares.
That was Paul.
Yeah.
Paul Lynn.
You're thinking of Rip Taylor.
Thinking of
Rip Taylor. That's it.
Yeah, there's a big difference between Rip Torn and Rip Taylor.
Is Rip Taylor still alive?
I don't know if Rip Taylor's still alive.
Who had Madam?
The
That was
puppet
Waylon
Madam.
Flowers.
He's 84 years old. He's still alive.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, by the way,
People live that long.
I was
Jerry Lewis.
talking about
Jerry
the
Lewis.
I was talking about the space race, and I was watching this documentary, Chasing the Moon, and every time they would come up with something, I would know the name of the person. Like, for instance, who was the first Russian in space?
Yuri Gagarin.
Very good. Now, who was the first woman in space?
Sally Ride.
No, that
Mary McAuliffe? It was a Russian woman.
Yep, you kind of were close there for a second, Charlie.
Zelenica, who's the
No,
pop-off?
no.
Okay.
Valentina Tereshkova.
She
Now,
played tennis?
who was the first dog in space?
She's hot.
Who was the first dog in space?
Rover 3.
Rover 3.
Extra.
Number the first dog in space was Laika. Yeah.
that was a Russian dog.
And the Russians went, "Oh, we sent a dog into space." The thing they didn't tell you is that the dog
died.
The dog died, and I think when they got to Earth, they switched dogs so they could show this dog getting out of there. But the dog,
They forgot to load They forgot to load dog food on the rocket.
Yeah,
So-
no.
What are we going to feed this dog?
Supposedly, the dog died of a heart attack. He was so terrorized
Wouldn't
by
you?
the whole. Yes.
Hell yeah.
And then we sent a chimp up,
Oh yeah.
and that was
Bobo.
what was the chimp's name? Trying to remember the chimp's
Bobo.
name. No.
Bonzo. Bedtime
No,
for
no,
Bonzo.
no.
Ronald Reagan Jr.
Oh, come on! I'm trying to remember what the name of the. But anyway, we sent up a chimp.
Ham.
They sent up a dog. We sent up a chimp.
The chimp's name was Ham.
Ham. You're absolutely right.
Ham.
Thank
Should
you.
I want the pig?
Yeah. So.
That's not a chimp name. Ham.
Kosher.
Yeah.
And he learned Morse code and talked back to Houston Central in Morse code.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember Vernon, all these names. Now, why do I remember those names? Why can I? I was just sitting there as they were saying, "Oh, the first guy in space." Where's Yuri Gagarin? Oh, first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova. For some reason, these names stayed with me all my life. They just didn't disappear. So.
Well, it was a very fascinating time and an amazing endeavor that It's just vanished.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if everybody will be quiet a second and we can let Mike talk, we will see a picture. We will see a picture of Ham. Hold on a second. Is wait a minute. It was not coming
It's got
through.
teeth like Tony.
For some reason the picture isn't changing now.
No.
I see it.
Mute your camera. Mute your mic for a second, Dan. I think maybe there's some kind of noise coming from your
NASA.
Oh, I think I know. Is it there? Is it not there now?
Well, okay, now just be quiet.
Is it gone now?
No, don't say anything. No, it's not. It's not going to his picture at all.
How many times am I going to make this chimp noise?
Oh, there we go. There we go. That's Ham. Are you sure that's Ham, or isn't that? Is that like a mocked up picture?
This is from Discovery TV, so yeah.
Jeez.
And there was another shot I found here. There he is.
No, there. Now that one looks real. That looks like they put him in there, and I wonder if he like shit his pants. Well, they'd shit his pants anyway, so you know it doesn't matter.
They put pants on it?
Diapers.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Yeah, otherwise, you'd have shit weightless in space.
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
just like
no, I told
monkey
the
shit
story
floating
about how one of the guys, Chaffee, I think, when they were going around the moon, when they took off, he puked and shit his pants, and then that stuff was all floating around the cabin. And they said,
Jesus.
He said after he said I think it was Borman who said people don't realize how filthy those cabins get in just a single flight.
Whoever,
He said, and after
Neil Armstrong and all that is the heroes, but that reveals that those they are the real heroes for dealing with that.
well, he said that after a while you just put up with it. There was shit on everything. There was puke
Isn't
on
shit in
everything.
space the name of Trump's space program?
I guess, yeah.
There's a lot of shit in space.
But I think it's just a shame that we've never gone back there. I think if we go back, it's not going to be NASA that does it.
Doesn't Trump want to go back? Isn't he talking about
That would be
going
Elon
back
Musk,
to the
and
moon?
he'll be charging.
Musk,
Yeah,
I think Musk
Mars.
is almost close to where he could. Today we could, because we have the technology, could very easily go to the moon and land on it and do stuff there.
Yeah.
But
It's just expensive as hell.
maybe not as expensive as it used to be.
Probably not.
They got coupons.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that, for instance, they kept talking in this documentary about how all the electronics in the capsule that went to the moon had less computing power than your iPhone.
A lot less.
A lot less.
Yeah, it was like, 7 million times less.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why you had all those pinheads with slide rules.
I think a lot of it was probably, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of it was analog, and none of it was really digital. But today,
they were talking
today,
to the coder the other day. What the hell was her name?
JoJo. What was her name?
They used punch cards.
She was on the documentary, and she's very attractive.
And they showed the stack of code that was like 6.5 feet tall.
Yes, yeah. But did they show her today, or did they show her back then?
Both.
Okay, she was hot back then.
Yeah, and then they showed her today, and she looks like she was in the Manson family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Rode hard and put away wet.
Well, you know what I've always liked about not being what I would call good looking is that beauty gets ugly. Okay?
Yeah.
With time, gets ugly. But ugly stays that way. And so you're kind of used to it. You just kind of get up to a plateau where, hey, now she's as ugly as I am.
Ugly wears.
As I said once, I said, when I was a young kid, I always wished that someday I could look like Marlon Brando, and now I do.
Hey, when I was in school, some of the girls, when I was in high school, you look at them and you say, I would never, and then you see their picture, 50 years later, and some of them look pretty damn good.
They go
compared to
reverse, yeah.
yeah.
Because
Yeah,
they started
exactly.
working out and stuff. Some of these girls that are all chunky and fat when they were young, they get older, they're working out. Like, whoa, hot mama.
Yeah.
That's what I say in my head. Hot mama.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't going on dates, so they made a lot of money and they got plastic surgery.
Yeah. Put the zits off.
But I mean, I just think that what we did back then was an amazing feat. I mean, the fact that Kennedy said 10 years from today, we're going to put a man on the moon. And 10 years from then, we did put a man on the moon. And it only showed what we can do here in America if we put our mind to it. That nothing is impossible.
No kidding.
That nothing is impossible. And important things like that. I think that
was president at the time that they landed on
Nixon.
the moon? Was it Nixon?
Nixon, yeah.
Nixon.
But he was very careful not to take credit for it. He simply congratulated everybody, but he didn't do anything to kind of take credit for it, which everybody said was a really nice thing of him to do, because really it was Kennedy's inspiration. And there was a point at which, by the way, that Kennedy saw how much money it was sucking out of the budget, and he was beginning to realize if he should slow the project down. But then he got shot, and he didn't, and Johnson felt this is the one signature thing of his, we got to keep going. And everybody kept it going in Kennedy's honor. And so we got to the moon within 10 years. And we went there for about 3 years, maybe 4, I can't remember how many. We left a lot of Hasselblad cameras there, and I would imagine fecal matter. And then we came back and never went back. I mean, how stupid was that? We went to all this trouble to get there, and then we never did anything, like, establish.
You lost interest.
Well,
they didn't want to clean up.
No, I think today we have the technology that if we did it, we could do it much simpler, much easier, and we could probably set up a living quarters on the moon, a base
Didn't
on
the
the moon.
Chinese just go? Then they
Interesting. Here's the thing they had on the documentary, that when the men went and landed on the moon, you know what else landed on the moon a day beforehand?
No.
Jeez.
A Russian unmanned space vehicle.
It was Russian.
And they claim that by the time that the Americans had landed, that it was coming back to Earth. The thing that they didn't announce, that somebody else discovered through a telescope, is the thing it crashed on landing and never got back.
Was it like a Land Rover or something? Or?
It was like a mock-up of what a lunar module would be.
Well, it's still there then.
Yeah,
so.
but it crashed and was there, forever.
How many times did we go to the moon?
We went about 5 times, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think so.
And we landed people on the moon, or we just circled it?
No, we landed people on the moon. He asked how many people landed on the moon.
Phil, you don't remember?
No.
You think
I remember the first one.
I mean, I think the goofiest thing is when we took the lunar rover up there. We actually had an automobile.
The moon landing was a hoax.
I know that they put a rover on Mars, but I didn't remember that they'd gone back to the moon. I knew they went once, but
no, I knew we went a bunch. I knew we went a few times. I just couldn't remember how many. Yeah, because there's been quite several astronauts who actually walked on the moon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Apollo guidance computer weighed 70 pounds and held 248 words of RAM.
Oh, God. 248 words of RAM.
And then
that was big technology.
36,800 words of what they call ROM, which is like the
ROM.
Read-only
memory.
Yeah, ROM. Fast.
Yeah.
And it only used 55 watts of power.
My first computer had a screen that only put 80 characters.
Yeah, but I got to tell
landing,
you,
it had an error when it was landing.
That's true.
This uses
went
less
into error, and
Apollo 13.
they were trying to figure out how it was going to continue to land, and it had to dump all this bad information. They weren't sure whether it was going to be able to dump all that information.
Doesn't it take like 4 minutes from the time that they do the command to the time that it's received?
But it depends on where you are. When it's a Mars,
that takes longer.
It could be
20
hours.
minutes.
Huh?
But
Mars is how much?
I think I thought I heard 20 minutes, and the moon is like 2.5 seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today. What about then? Was it?
What about
it doesn't change, Phil.
The speed of light is the speed of light.
Different. I think Mars does. We change our orbit in respect to Mars. So yeah, the distance to Mars will change, but the distance to the moon won't.
Well, it does. The moon is in is not in a completely circular orbit. It has a perigee and an apogee, and so it does vary. But what we could do in the future is we could send a laser beam to the moon, and then send all our communications on the laser beam, and it'd probably get to the Earth very fast.
Speed of light.
Well, I guess so. I think there's already a laser beam.
Either that, or I hope they do something. I hope they do something.
Measuring it or something.
Measuring
the distance.
I hope that they do something about it, because you got all these guys at the networks, and you ever notice when they talking to somebody and say France, and they say, "Hi, Bob in France, what do you think?" And the guys, "Well, I think," right? Because there's a lag.
Satellite.
If we have to do that with the moon, Bob's on the moon right now. Bob?
10 minutes later.
Or Mars. Hey, Bob's on Mars. Hi, Bob.
They're going to have to come up with something different for the internet. The Russians had a sub. And they think they were trying to cut the cables that went across the ocean that power the internet. Mm-hmm. And I guess there's a ton of cables, and they said they were about the size of a garden hose, and that these certain Russian subs are being refitted so that they could cut those cables, and so that they could interrupt, I guess, European commerce and things like that.
I don't think we're using cables under the water anymore. Phil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Are we still using it?
That's what the internet is.
They just finished laying a new one between here and Japan. Yeah. It's all fiber underneath the sea.
It's all fiber now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just thought most of it was satellite now, but I guess it's not.
Yeah, you would think it's up in the cloud.
Satellite's too expensive. It's going to be all underground.
By the way, does my voice sound hoarse tonight at all?
No.
Because it feels hoarse when I'm using it. So.
Of course, your voice.
Well, anyway, listen, we gotta start going here. But before we sign off, let me just say to you, thank you so much for calling tonight. We've had an amazing amount of people listening to us this evening. So either it was more interesting than usual, or when I'm not on as often, they like it better.
You got a royal flush.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is that you're probably all wondering why I wasn't here for the last couple of days, and I'm not exactly ready to talk about it. Okay, but I do thank you for all your concern, and it's something which I just don't know. I didn't want to talk about it because we get bogged down in discussing it. Okay, that's it. Anyway, I want to thank Vernon for being with us tonight, Vernon. And when we do decide to talk about it, you're one of the guys I got to talk to. I want to thank Charlie, and I want to thank Patrick, and I want to thank Jeff. Let's see if I get everybody. Mike, I want to thank you. Phil Meyer, I want to thank you. Dan Meyer, I want to thank you. Call us more often, will you? Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much. Oh, gosh, mine's going. Kevin, and thank you, Ray. Okay, I got them all right, now fuck off. Everybody give a big wave goodbye to the folks out there, and I'll wave goodbye too, okay? That's it. That's our citizen panel for tonight. Oh boy, I almost thought I wasn't going to get everybody, but I managed to remember them all, so that's good. Hey, listen, it's Jack next with the intersection, and then I will be back hopefully on Tuesday. There's no Damien for 3 weeks, so I'll be on first thing on Tuesday at 10 o'clock Eastern daylight time if I feel like it. And I appreciate everybody checking in tonight. That's it. Stay tuned for Jack. He's next over most of the same station. I'm Alex Bennett, and I'll be back again, as I say, on Tuesday. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.